1, 2, 3, 4. What up, y'all? Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy Jermaine Events, episode 28. Got a special guest, very special special guest this week for you guys. My lovely, lovely wife.
Hi.
Hey, Sarah's here. Sarah's in the town. How was it? How are you doing today?
That's good. How about you?
It's all right. It's been an okay week.
Anything weird happened in the last 3 minutes?
No, actually, nothing weird happened.
Weird.
No, I mean, if you want to be like that, I just had some technical difficulties with the audio here, and in the midst of it, I knocked over my hard cider, and it's basically full. And then while I got off my bar stool to pick it up, I ended up stepping on it and shooting even more seltzer out of the can. I pretty much emptied out the entire can as I went to grab it. So that's something that happened. Yeah. Anything interesting happened to you?
No, I just got to see that.
Yeah, you got to see that. If you guys want to see more, you can go ahead and follow the podcast Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter. The handle for the podcast is @Babylon5Pod. If you want to follow my personal accounts, it's @my-name's Jermaine. You can email the podcast. The handle for that is Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can follow this podcast on Podbean at babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to the podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Music, pretty much anywhere that podcasts stream. If you guys want to add me on Xbox, my gamer tag is SauceBoss414. If you guys want to check out some merch, it's you can grab some baby clothes, you can grab all kinds of shit. Socks, leggings. My wife's got some leggings. We're gonna get some photos of those up pretty soon. Of my wife in the almost see-through leggings. Let's throw that out there. But the link for that is teespring.com/stores/BOFpod-shop. And if you want to watch me play video games eventually at some point, it's twitch.tv/Babylon5. Yeah, that's all the social medias. How are you doing, babe?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. See any good movies lately?
On Friday we saw... Was it Friday? Yes. Yeah. We saw The Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man. Going into it, I was hating. I remember I saw the trailer, I was hating because, I saw Hollow Man, and I thought it was just going to be like a remake of Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon, which is the homie. Shout out to Kevin Bacon. And so, shout out Kevin Bacon. And yeah, so I thought it was going to be a remake of that movie, which I didn't really care for, even though it had Kevin Bacon. And it wasn't. It was a lot different. I was pleasantly surprised on it. I'm happy we went and saw it. You had your heart set out on the Sonic the Hedgehog movie beforehand, and unfortunately, we didn't. I wasn't so motivated to see that, so we didn't see it. But I know you had your heart set on it. Maybe at some point we can do that for you.
I'll just go along.
I'll go with you eventually to see the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and I'll let you all know how I feel about it, good or bad, I'm not sure. I mean, I thought this movie was going to be really bad.
It was good.
And it turned out to be really good. Starring Elizabeth Moss and a cast of random motherfuckers, I would say. A bunch of randos. I'm gonna look up the cast. What do you want to talk about it?
I don't know. It just wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. I didn't realize it was so
spoiler
tech-based.
alert. We're gonna talk about some aspects of it. So spoiler alert. I didn't really know any of the actors in this movie other than Elizabeth Moss. The black guy Aldous Hodge, he looks familiar to me. I've seen him in things, but then when I looked him up, I've never really he's never really played a role or been in anything where I was like, oh, he's from blah, blah, blah. But I just, like, know his face, like, randomly. I just randomly know his face. Other than Elizabeth Moss, it's a relatively unknown cast for me, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it was pretty tech-based, which I felt like made a lot of sense for me, personally, because, you know, one of my main issues with things like invisibility cloaks and Harry Potter, you got, like, it's like, dude, you're not explaining to me. I mean, I guess you're explaining that it's magic, and that's pretty much as far as it needs to go. You can't really, our understanding can't really go into explaining magic, because magic is unexplainable at that point. So, but my issue with it is that how is it not just a mirror, and how does it reflect what's behind you with such an object like the invisibility cloak? Like, I don't know. This doesn't really make any sense to me. But in this movie, The Invisible Man. So if we could talk, should we like just go into the whole story?
I feel like you need to, kind of.
Yeah, I can't just talk about the twist and then be like, bro, what are you talking about? All right, you want to talk or? Yeah, go ahead, baby girl.
Basically, Elizabeth Moss. What's her name in the movie?
I don't know.
That lady.
That lady.
You have the cast up.
It doesn't say their names. It says Elizabeth Moss for the husband. It says Griffin, but it doesn't have her character name.
Well, whatever. She is in an abusive relationship and leaves her billionaire husband.
Well, it kind of starts with her like already creeping out, and it's just like
because she's trying to escape him.
It just leads you to believe like, well, clearly this is abusive because she's trying to leave. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah.
He's a tech billionaire. They live in like Silicon Valley. Oh yeah, that's right.
Anywho.
So he's a tech inventor. They have this like high tech house and super expensive. And she escapes. And then they find out like a couple weeks later he kills himself. Mm-hmm. And she's in hiding the entire time. And then he ends up leaving her $5 million. Under the condition that she can't be in trouble with the law. Yeah, doesn't commit a crime.
Yeah.
And is mentally stable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty specific conditions. And so she sets up a bank account for the black dude who she's staying with, his daughter, so that she can go to cosmetology school.
Nope.
Isn't it?
Fashion design school in New York.
Fashion I got lost on that. I thought it was cosmetology. You know what it was? We were watching that 70s show afterwards, and Lori was going to cosmetology school. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So she was set up an account to give her $10,000 a month so that she could go to fashion school in New York with this money. Mm-hmm. But pretty much right away, she starts to feel like someone's watching her, like, in the house. And wasn't it like the door just, like, opened up?
Yep.
And then, so it's like...
And the knife went missing when she was cooking. And
knife went missing, the fire started. But when in the part where she's walking around after she gets $5 million or whatever, and then she says she's setting up the account, and then she's like, she's just like walking around because she feels like someone's there. And then like the door just opens up. The chain link comes off. At that point, she just like casually walks outside.
Yeah, I would not have gone outside.
Like casual. It's like, yo, the chain link came off and somebody opened up this door and you're just like, oh, I wonder what happened. That was silly to me. So they really hadn't gotten into like the deep part of the movie. So at this point, I'm like, this is about to be dumb as fuck. Because that was stupid. She just casually walked outside like the chain link it's swinging back and forth.
Yep.
They're putting emphasis on the fact that this chain like was taken off. And she just casually walks outside. There's the breath breathing next to her. Mm-hmm. My only issue there was like, if this wasn't, it's like, oh, this is a normal person.
Yeah, she was so paranoid.
But how is he not making any noise? Like, other than like when it needed to move the plot like forward. That's what was silly. But like, so she thinks, or I don't know, she thinks it's her husband faked his death, and that he said he told her. She said that he told her that he could
even in death he could find her.
Yeah, even in death he could walk right up to her and she'd never be able to know he was there. Like, and he's a tech genius, and he said this to her. So this is happening, and she's convinced that he faked his death, and that he's like stalking her. And
bunch of weird shit starts happening.
Shit starts happening. Like he punches the young girl who's
in the email gets sent to her sister.
Sends an email to her sister saying her sister's like suffocating her, and she wishes she was dead. Like, yeah, like just random things started happening. Like her sister, she goes to visit her sister. Her sister's like, no. Like after that email, I want it's fine. Like stay away from me because. So Elizabeth Moss's character Cecilia, her argument is that I'm not sending this email. Like my husband that you guys all saw killed himself, like is actually alive and invisible, and sending these things and doing all these things, and like so now she's just coming off completely crazy to everybody. Her sister is not believing that her sister's dead husband is the one who sent that email. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't believe that. So she cuts her off. At this point, there's Cecilia would head. Well, yeah. So he attacks her, right? He attacks her in the house that she's staying in, and this is at the point where. Is this the point where he hits the girl and then
after she sees her sister? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, yeah. After she sees her sister.
Yep.
Then he hits the little girl.
And then the dad and the daughter leave.
Daughter leaves. Then he attacks her again.
Because she goes up in the attic. Because she feels.
Oh yeah, she goes in the attic. She hears the vibration, and he throws paint on. She throws paint on him when she's in the attic, and he's on the ladder, like coming up.
That scared me.
And like somehow. Like, she's walking, and then it was like the water didn't just like turn on, and then she gets into the kitchen, and all of a sudden this man had cleaned all the paint off of him in this kitchen sink. I was like, that's pretty silly. But that happened, and so he attacked her. And then she went back to the house, right? And was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on.
And that's when she learned how the suit worked.
But that's when, before she found out that there was a suit there, she gets there and a dog runs out. And I'm like, what the fuck? This nigga killed himself a while ago and y'all just left that dog sitting in the house? Nobody lives there. Everything's like covered up and shit. It's clear that nobody lives there. Why is that dog? And it's like, that doesn't even get mentioned that, like she just walks in and it's like, oh, what's up, dog? Like, she's fully aware that dog is just sitting in the house by itself. And so then she goes into the bedroom. I guess they noted, like, as she was breaking out, they did show this room and these suits on these mannequins as she was, like, walking through the room. But, like, as I'm saying, the movie starts with her escaping from this house.
No backstory.
No backstory at all of the abuse or who this person is and why, or what this room even means. You know what I'm saying? So, like, she goes in the room. There's, like, an iPad on the wall or some shit. And she, like, touches mode on it. And all of a sudden, like, in the middle of this room, like, a mannequin wearing a suit, like, appears that was invisible in the room. But because it has all these cameras on the suit, it can project what's behind and in front, yada, yada, yada. It's amazing. It's a genius fucking suit. If you're going to make an invisible person, that's the way you make an invisible person, ladies and gentlemen. Harry Potter can take note of that. J.K. Rowling, joking, rolling on the floor laughing is what I think about when it comes to Harry Potter.
We're not getting into this.
Yeah, but I thought that was a pretty genius suit. The movie wasn't cheesy.
It was so good.
It was pretty good. Are we going to keep going? Are we going to dig into the rest of the story, or are we just going to just say that it was a good movie?
I mean, I think we got to the point, basically.
Well, we could say, like, I was going to say when I knew it, when it shifted, when I was like, holy shit, is when she's sitting there with her sister. She meets up with her sister. So she finds this suit, and then she needs to, like, for whatever reason, she hides it. Rather than taking it with her.
Which would have been.
I thought would have been the smart thing to do, but she hides it. And then I think, like, the husband, like, comes back home, like, invisible, and she, like, sneaks out of there because the dog is reacting to the dude. And So she sneaks out of there and she doesn't take the suit with her, and but she just like hides it somewhere in the house. And she meets with her sister to tell her that she figured out that her husband is alive and like how he can be invisible. And as she's telling her this, like, fucking knife just picks up off the table, fucking slices the sister's throat wide open in front of her.
And then goes into Cecilia's hand.
Yeah, and then just goes into Cecilia's hand. Like, and everybody in the restaurant starts flipping out. Because this girl clearly, apparently, as everybody's watching, just fucking sliced her own sister's throat open. It's fucking nutty. At this point, I was like, this movie's something else. And it just gets crazier from that point on. You know what I'm saying? It was a really good movie. There's a lot. I gave y'all that little twist there. I said spoiler alert, but it's a lot more interesting from there. It's a pretty cool fucking movie.
Coolius' sound too in the movie.
Who?
Coolius' sound. Like how they use the sound to like push the plot along.
Oh yeah. I thought one thing I thought was annoying was they kept like doing these like close-ups on Elizabeth Moss's face, just like it was a Handmaid's Tale. Like every ending, like she was plotting her next move, and it would be these weird like close-ups, just like the end of every Handmaid's Tale. Thought that was pretty.
It's her signature move.
That was her signature move. I mean, I guess I was there. I was at the theater, so I guess it works. But I was just annoyed by that.
The weird thing about that movie, too, is, like, I didn't even know what the ex-husband looked like till the end of the movie. No,
yeah, that's what they never... Because he starts out and he's sleeping. And she's sneaking out. So, yeah, when they finally showed him later on, it was just like, who is... Like, when they find him, it's like, who is that supposed to be? Like, that was the first time they showed that guy, like... It's like... They're like, oh, he was clearly, like, there for a while. And it's like, well, I don't know. I've never even seen what this person looks like. I guess he hasn't shaved in a few days. You know, that was silly. That was a weird aspect that you don't even really see.
Kind of cool, but weird.
Yeah, it was an interestingly shot movie. Yeah, I was into it. I would suggest people go check that one out.
Did we see any good previews?
I don't know. There was that one religious like movie that looked. It started out like, oh, this might be good. Then by the end of it, I was like, what the fuck was that?
It's made by the person that made Midsummer. I can't remember the name of the movie.
Yeah, the same people that made the movie with Adam Sandler and Kevin Garnett that we saw.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. They're the same people that made that.
God, what was the name of it? Saint something.
Saint something. I don't know. It looked
Mara?
weird. I'm not gonna go see it. I don't think so. It looked weird. They had the Candyman previews with Jordan Peele, right?
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
That looks pretty good. I mean, Jordan Peele's knocking shit out of the park these days, so pretty much anything he does, like, I assume it's going to be pretty good. You know?
I feel like, too, all the recent, like... I mean, in the last year, all the recent, like, horror remakes have been
Negroes,
good. No.
No.
The recent horror remakes?
Recent Hollywood Negroes.
No.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
No, but you know...
like It?
Halloween. Remember we saw that?
That was pretty good.
Pet Sematary.
I didn't really care for Halloween back in the day, and I thought the remake was pretty good.
Pet Sematary was weird, but cool.
The twist on Pet Sematary was pretty dope because, you know, if you saw the first one... That's you hadn't seen the first one and I had, so there were certain things that they kept like teasing that I was waiting to happen, and then it was like, wait, what's going on here? And then they did the whole twist at the end, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
I wonder if there's going to be a sequel of that one.
I don't know. That was pretty weird. I mean, it would have to start a whole new like cast. It could be like maybe they show the news where they had to kill that family or something. Like, hopefully, but yeah.
So I'm excited for Candyman and the Destiny's Child song in it.
Candyman, they put Say My Name in there slowed.
Kind of like I Got 5 on it.
Candyman is the nigga that played Dr. Manhattan in the show HBO series Watchmen, which was unfortunately only one season. But yeah, shout out to homeboy that played Dr. Manhattan. I'm going to check that out, Candyman.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be a real good one. Looks like it. And then, it's got the preview where the girls are in the bathroom and they say Candyman 3 times.
I don't know if you noticed this, but before they show that, they're like, what kind of people would do this? And they show all the girls in the bathroom and they're all white girls.
Oh, yeah.
That made me laugh really hard.
I would, yeah, that's pretty accurate right there. Me and no niggas was never in the bathroom doing no Bloody Mary shit. You never heard of it's like
no, I did, but I'm just trying to imagine that.
I'm saying we was never.
I know.
Wasn't interested. If that was a result that could possibly happen, well, who's going out here looking for that result? Like, that's weird. White people.
Yeah.
The
FWP.
Yeah. So that was a pretty cool movie. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool previews. Mm-hmm. We got a new Netflix dating show. Ooh. We binged upon.
God.
You want to talk about that, baby girl?
Yes.
My baby girl, go ahead.
Love is Blind.
Love is Blind.
Which I guess it was kind of like The Circle.
Your mind. What you think is love is truly not. You need to elevate and find. Love is blind.
Okay.
All right.
But that was like The Circle. I guess they're uploading week to week or whatever, which we got it the last week.
It was a 3-week thing, so yeah, I was happy we did. Mm-hmm. I'm happy we caught it in that little...
the blip.
Little blip there toward the end. So the concept was originally supposed to be if they could prove that love is blind and that the physical, like people could find love based off of just like personalities, emotional connections, and not physical attractions. Mm-hmm. But the main issue is that all the contestants are basically attractive people.
Privileged.
Yeah, privileged, attractive people, and
all able-bodied, all have decent jobs.
Yeah,
because I'm sorry, you couldn't leave your job for like 3 weeks if you didn't have a decent job.
There's like no like, why don't you have like a 400-pound woman or something there, or a 400-pound man? I feel like
part of it though is you kind of ride that line between like experiment and exploiting too. You need to.
But then, you could still make that same argument here with the more attractive cast, but they're not complaining, and there's not going to be necessarily a group of attractive people like, you're exploiting these people for their good looks. No, they're going to be like, let me be on the next season. Mm-hmm. And maybe because I'm a Quasimodo looking motherfucker.
Oh my God, no.
I'm not speaking for them, speaking for the Quasis.
Oh my God, no. So I was reading an article about it today. So it started with 15 men, 15 women, and they were planning on 2 to 3 couples connecting, and there was actually 8, but they picked the 6 most interesting.
Oh, really?
So do you remember like the brunette guy? This was in the first couple episodes, who was always giving people advice, but they never showed his romantic connection.
Was he like an older guy?
Kind of, yeah. So apparently he connected with someone, but they're like, oh, you're not interesting. So they actually had 8 people match up, which is...
And they just kicked them off the show?
And for some reason picked Kelly and Kenny as if they were interesting.
No.
I think, though, I read it was supposed to be only 5, and then Kelly and Kenny weren't supposed to be there. But then when Carlton and Diamond left, they brought them in, but they made it look like 6 people. Oh, but we should get back. So for the first 10 days, they can't see each other.
I forgot about Carlton and Diamond.
I didn't. So for the first 10 days, they can't see each other, and they're in these pods that are connected by one glass wall, but it's opaque, and they have to base it off of emotional connections. In the first 10 days, they have to choose if they want to get engaged or not to someone.
You know what was weird to me was, like, I felt like they should have had, like, you can't talk about your race or, like, your age and blah, blah, blah. Or, like, your job even, because that said a lot about certain people. Because, like, they could definitely, make your decisions based off of all that.
Kenny was saying how tall he was.
He was saying how tall he was. The one guy was like in the first episode asking the girl like, I'm just gonna say you're black, right? Based off of your voice.
Yeah,
it's like, that's something that I felt like they shouldn't have been allowed to address at that stage,
And I feel like they should have made them wear something that, like, changed their voice.
Yeah,
Jessica.
Yeah, it was a lot there that, like...
Could be fixed.
Yeah, it could be fixed to really...
Make it real.
Make it a little more anonymous. I mean, I felt like they could have done... If the circle was a dating game, like, in this aspect, it would have been better served in that kind of venue.
Yeah.
Where it could be a catfish you're sitting here talking to, and you're trying to make these connections
almost like they're texting back and forth versus talking.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been a better thing, because you could have gotten through it, and, like, I don't know how they would have been able to do elimination, but you could have, like, made that connection and found that you were talking to a dude the whole time, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
when I was reading that article, I guess, like, the first day they met with everyone and then they had to rank them, and then the producers matched them from like 15 to 8, and then from there they would pare it down or whatever.
How did they decide this?
The producers?
Yeah.
They based off of their rankings, who they saw the second day.
Okay.
And they had them see their top 8 MySpace. And then from there, I think the contestants are the ones that ask for the dates or whatever.
Okay. And if somebody's like, nah, they don't want to, they don't want to date you.
I've been like really invested in this show, so I've read like 7 articles. So I can fill you in.
Yeah, let's fill me in.
So basically, after 10 days, they have to decide if they want to get engaged to someone. They have to propose without seeing them. So they showed the 6 couples. So it was Diamond Carlton.
Yeah.
Lauren Cameron, who I was rooting for.
I was indifferent about them. I didn't care.
Jessica Mark.
Nah.
Barnett. Amber.
Was not rooting for them. I don't think I was rooting for anybody.
I feel like that Gianna Nana and Damien.
Crazy.
They all are.
I didn't feel like the dude that Giannina was
Damien.
I felt like he was pretty level-headed. Like,
or a serial killer.
Or just like a regular person. And, like, he'd be like, oh, we got, like, drama and stuff. You know, I don't have to deal with drama when I'm here with you. And she's like, what kind of drama? Tell me right now. And he's like,
no, he was
we
like...
can talk about that later. And she's like, no. Tell me the drama right now.
Yeah, she's psycho. So after 10 days, they get engaged. And then they go to Mexico for, like, 4 days. Like a pre-honeymoon.
Was it just 4 days?
I think so. Because then it was...
Because there was a lot of Jessica getting drunk and talking about Barnett a lot.
Yeah, did you know that Mark's 10 years younger than her?
Oh, no, she may have mentioned that once or twice, actually.
Did you know if she's 60, he'll be 50?
Yeah, right. That's not the way that works.
If she's 70, he'll be 60.
That is not the way that works.
She was crazy.
With people like her, I felt like the most important thing for them was simply to be on the TV show and not to actually ever try to find love. Well,
when she's like getting food with her friends?
Yeah.
So I guess the one girl's like a reporter. So I feel like she just wants to be like an influencer or like on TV or whatever.
That's weird. I guess you have read a lot about.
I have. It's such a weird show to me.
No, I just... So Jessica and Mark. Let's talk about Jessica and Mark.
You know what, though? Mark did it to his damn self,
Mark definitely did it to himself. Jessica, before they even get to the Mexico, Jessica shuts Mark down and says, yo, I'm all about Barnett. And she's like, I'm not into you like that. Cool. He's like, fuck, it was just me or you, and, like, since you said no, like, I'm out. Right, but for some reason, he sticks around. And then Barnett tells Jessica, yo, I'm not picking you, I'm not gonna marry you. And then she goes, you know what, Mark? It's been you the whole time. And he's like, oh, word, cool, let's do it. Then they go to fucking Mexico. She gets shit-faced. Is always going to Mark and talking about, like, are you sure?
Yeah,
like, you didn't make, like, you don't regret anything and blah, blah, blah. And
I like when she's like, you're too emotionally available.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Dude, she was just all over. She tells Mark, like, how sexy she thinks.
That's after they move.
What do you mean?
when they get back from Mexico, then they're in those apartments.
Oh, yeah. See, that's wild, man. Like,
no, but I think they meet up with everyone at some point in Mexico. And then she's like, oh, are things, like, actually working for you guys? Right? Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But she was just, like, not trying to vibe with Mark at all. Like, once they
Poking holes.
Like, she was cool with marrying him, and, like, once they got engaged or whatever, she was cool. But then, like, just trying to build on the relationship, she was clearly not into that at all. And I felt like she was just there to be on TV, which bravo to her. You know, I feel like that should work for most of them. They should be able to be influencers at least and get some.
I was going to say, I feel like the main people that succeed from reality shows are the villains and the favorites or whatever. So
the Snookies and people like that.
So she played the villain.
Yeah. What are some other couples?
There's Carlton and Diamond.
Carlton and Diamond. So yeah. So he mentioned just like as like before he picked Diamond.
Not to her, but in his confessional.
Just in his confessional, he mentioned that he was bisexual, or that he only dated people for their heart. So he dated men and women. He didn't really like date a gender. He dated hearts, and but he hadn't told her. So he's waiting until they got to once they were engaged. They got to Mexico. He decided to let her know.
But he was being so insecure about it. And he was, like, treating her like garbage.
He started flipping out. Like, he was freaking out about it. He clearly has more issue.
Yeah, I think he's insecure.
With, I don't know if he's straight, because he was saying, like, yeah, I've dated men, but I want to start a family now. And, like, and it's just like he feels like he can't be the person he wants to be. He has to, like, find a woman to be with to, like, biologically start this family, like, the way he feels like. Wouldn't probably for his, like, family. Probably peers, he's got to do it this way, but I don't know. He could be a gay man, have, like, a surrogate or do whatever, man. Like, I don't understand.
There's kids up for adoption.
Kids for adoption, but he feels like he needs to marry a woman to start a family right now. I feel like that's the only reason. I don't feel like he is necessarily attracted to women. He freaked out.
I felt bad for her.
Yeah. Because he wasted her time. She could have...
Well, he was just mean to her, too.
Yeah, as soon as he told her, as soon as he told her, he was mean to her about her saying she needed time to just think about it.
And then he commented on her personal appearance, which I'm like, oh, that's a real intelligent argument.
And I don't know, I don't think straight men talk to women they're trying to fuck like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
I don't get it.
He was still courting her at that point. So like, I don't think straight men would talk themselves out of vagina in such a way.
Yeah, well, that's what men do though if you reject them.
But he wasn't. I don't think he was rejected at that point, was he?
I think he felt rejected though.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
just because she didn't jump on it, she could have worked through it. Who knows?
There's men that I felt like I've known, and then I see them get rejected, and like it's just like, bro, who the fuck are you, bro? They just flip out, and yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird. Try being on the other end of that.
I won't. But, yeah, it's pretty weird. Some other couples.
But they left before Damon lived with each other.
They left before living with each other because he flipped out about...
I think she made the right choice.
Yeah, he flipped out about being bisexual. And then she was like, yo, you didn't even give me an option to, like, choose if I wanted to be in this situation. And, yeah, so they had to go home.
So...
You got Kelly and
Kenny.
KK. And, and...
They were weird, because this was, like, 10 episodes long, and episodes 1 through 8, they were so into each other, then all of a sudden, like, the last 2 episodes, she's like, I don't know.
Yeah, she said he was like a brother, and she just wasn't into him sexually, right?
I guess, yeah. But then she's like, he's like no one I dated. I'm like, yeah, probably because that's a better fit for you.
Wouldn't that make more sense? Like, you're single on this game show. or whatever. They're not winning anything.
She's
they're winning a husband.
She's some influencer too, though.
Well, I would imagine
like
most
a fitness one.
I would imagine most of them are. Most of them had really mediocre jobs, like sales, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was like, none of these people are like, except for like maybe Jessica, right?
And Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron, who was the AI, artificial intelligence scientist. Like, that guy had a decent job. Most of the people on there didn't really do too much. The other guy was Mark was a fitness instructor. I'm pretty sure I've seen that posted for like $10 an hour. Like, yeah,
and I think, like the Damien was sales too.
Yeah, so like, real mediocre jobs. The one girl that Barnett got engaged to was jobless, pretty much homeless, and needed he's like, oh, what do you do for work? She's like, I don't live to work, I work to live. Like, she didn't explain like what she does for work, and like her goal is to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I guess right out the bat, like without even having children, her goal in this marriage is to be a stay-at-home mom.
Right. Not build that relationship.
What I thought was an alarm with their relationship was like when they were waiting to
This is
married.
Barnett and Amber.
Barnett and Amber, like, I'm jumping around right here. But Barnett and Amber, at one point, I think they were about to get married. And he's like, what'd you do all day? And she's
oh my God,
like,
yeah.
All she did was drink wine, right?
And watch Netflix. And plan their wedding as if it's a real wedding.
Yeah, like, it was, she hadn't done shit but get shit-faced all day. And I was just like, how is this not going to be, like, it?
He's dumb, though, because he's like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah, he was okay with a lot of things, man. And it's like...
So I guess if he's okay with it.
If he felt like he was attracted to her sexually or physically early on, I mean, my nigga, you got to recalibrate once you get to know these people, you know? There's that, I think...
I guess, how did that not come up when they were talking, though?
What do you mean?
Like, in their pods.
Of her not having a job?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It should have come up because, I don't know. Especially with, it's like he wasn't into her physical attributes or anything. He didn't think like, oh, she's pretty. He just thought from talking to her. So I don't understand how that wouldn't have come up. Like, what do you do for work? Maybe she probably mentioned that she was a veteran.
I think that's what she kept saying to people. But that was interesting.
Yeah, so... Yeah, that was weird. We jumped from Kelly and Kenny. I guess we didn't really need to say too much.
No, they were the boring couple.
They were the boring couple. You had Cameron.
Which, sidebar, Jessica was in a love triangle with Barnett and Amber, too.
She was not in a love triangle. It
was a one-sided love triangle.
One-sided love triangle. She was just constantly trying to convince Barnett that he wanted her. And he's just like, nah, like, I'm good. And she, like, how old was Barnett, though?
I just looked that up because I was curious. So he was 27, so they had a 7-year age difference.
Yeah, they had a 7-year age difference, and she didn't mind that at all.
When you're 50.
But for Mark...
I'll be 57.
Who, just 3 more years, was like, nah, this is not cool.
I mean, that is young, but still.
Barnett, she had no issues.
Right.
Barnett could have took her down right there in front of everybody, and there would have been no problem with the age difference right there. My nigga Mark had to play the friend zone in his engagement for most of that show. You know,
that's his own fault, though. He stayed.
He deserved it.
Yeah,
he was a clown. I just didn't understand what a lot of these people were fighting for.
Speaking of fighting,
the Giannina, and versus Damon.
Those two are idiots.
So. Giannina, she says, you know how you give me this compliment that it's the best sex you ever had, and you ever notice that I never return the compliment?
Oh my God.
Like, this bitch is crazy.
Dude, we were uncomfortable in our own house.
Yeah, and
that was so cringy.
Yeah, I don't know why you're going to throw that at him on this TV show that you know you're on.
I feel like she's, like, looking into the camera when she said that, too.
Yeah. They were, like, in 2 different rooms, and she was, like, performing that. But,
that's a good word.
He was just, I mean, she was crazy.
But that's when they're on their honeymoon too. That's when she's on the boat and she's like, "What do you mean you don't want to go back to reality?" I'm like, "You're on vacation.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that serious."
She would just flip out. I remember at one point her friends, like right before they were about to do the wedding ceremonies, her friends were like, she was saying to her friends, like, I've already shown him my bitchy side and he's okay with it. And then her friend was like, I don't think there's any way to avoid showing that. Because she's crazy.
She is crazy.
And her friends know she's crazy. Like, that's just who she is. And the whole time I'm just saying, don't marry that girl. I'm saying that along with a few people there. I'm saying that to Barnett. I'm saying that to a few people. I'm saying that to Mark. I mean, not necessarily Mark. It got to a point where I didn't feel bad for Mark anymore.
No, because he stayed. He chose it.
Yeah, I didn't feel bad for
You
Mark.
were like, Jessica, don't say yes to him. To do him a favor.
It would have been silly for both sides to get married. He was so dumb. Like, they didn't get married, Jessica and Mark, at the end of the day. They did not. He said yes, she said no. And that was the best thing for both of them.
And then his mom acted surprised.
His mom acted surprised. They're both crazy. I thought his mom was insane. I thought he was insane. And, dude, what did you want out of that relationship? You wanted, like, that woman who clearly did not want you at all? Like, why were you chasing that? I don't understand it. Don't understand it at all.
The best couple, though.
Cameron and
Lauren, yeah.
Lauren.
I just love the dad when they went to go meet her dad.
Yeah, he's like, you didn't ask for my permission and blah, blah, blah. Or...
Yeah, and then he's like, have you ever been in a room full of black people before?
Yeah.
And Cameron's like, yes.
Have you ever been in a room full of black people before?
I have. Thank you.
All right. You've been at a park full of black people with me before. That was interesting. I wasn't the biggest fan of that whole thing. I was cool with the dancing baby. That was pretty dope at the park. Felt like niggas was wilding. Just I'm saying my cousins was wilding.
Oh,
there's a lot of niggas. A lot of niggas up in there.
Wow.
Anywho, we get back to the show.
You're insane.
And then so the dad was like, have you been in a room full of black people?
I loved him.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool moment. Yeah. I guess that was your favorite couple. I was rooting for Kenny and Kelly because I felt like they could have been a dope couple.
Yeah, they're both boring.
They're both boring, and I felt like what was their careers? I felt like they had decent careers.
She did like fitness stuff, and he.
I felt like they could have had a decent life together, but
she's weird.
Yeah, she was weird.
Secret villain.
She just wasn't into it at the end. She shut my boy Kenny down. I felt like that.
Even her mom was into him.
Yeah, her mom. Like after the end, after she shut him down and he gave a little speech, like thanking them all for being there, saying unfortunate. And mom is like, dude, I love him. Like, they would have been a good couple. I felt like the parents loved him.
I loved it too when he got sassy with the cameraman.
Yeah, called the cameraman out by his
Jimmy?
name. Yeah, like bro, that man was like, Jimmy, stop recording me right now. I'm not going to talk about it.
And he turned his back to him.
Yeah,
He's like, hell yeah.
Bro was flipping out. That's pretty calming. Like, you showed me his Instagram, and he's a boxer.
Yeah.
He's if you look at his Instagram, he's got all kinds of training. So that shows you like how well the training is. He looks like he's very capable when you look at his Instagram. So he could have beat the fuck out. Like, just turn these cameras off. He was calm enough, trained enough. He was a trained enough athlete where he turned his back and said, "Please turn these cameras off."
He was tall.
What you mean?
He has long arms.
Yeah, you got long arms, child. Look at the moms, child.
Oh my god.
You could be out there beating up these girls, child. Look at their moms.
Stop saying child.
So yeah, I was rooting for that couple, but Kelly wasn't into it, unfortunately.
I think everyone was rooting for Lauren and Cameron.
Lauren and Cameron? I didn't really care for them.
Why?
You know, because like, you know, no, I'm not gonna say that. I said something hilarious to my wife the other day, and she doesn't want me to say it here, so I won't. All right, I won't.
But their reunion is this Thursday.
Oh, the reunion. Oh,
It's on YouTube for some reason.
Maybe Netflix didn't know how popular it was gonna get, and they're like, "Fuck, we gotta do it somewhere." I mean, they probably could just do it in a second, but who knows?
I wonder if they're gonna have some stupid thing where they're having like an additional streaming service through YouTube, so it's a way to like plug it.
Maybe
because they're sneaky.
Yeah, any way to make a extra dollar. You know?
It'll be good. It'll be interesting to see.
Were there any more couples?
No, I think we got them all.
So, at the end of the day, the couples that got married were Cameron and
Lauren.
And
then
I was going to say Cameron and the black girl.
Oh, my God. And then Barnett and Amber.
Barnett, unfortunately, married Amber, whose goal is to be a stay-at-home mom. That's her life goal, is to be a stay-at-home mom. Not just like to be a mom, but to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, not to do anything.
How do you throw that part in there? How is that part of your goals? I want to be a stay-at-home mom. So they got married, and that's about it. Right? Just those two couples? But all the couples are going to be on the reunion?
Yep.
Okay, that could be interesting.
I think Carlton even too.
Carlton?
And Diamond.
And then they could be like, yo, Mark, you're dumb as fuck, bro. I hope everybody lets
I know, I'm interested to see what he thinks of it.
Is it going to be live?
I don't think so. No, they recorded it already.
So why is it on YouTube?
I don't know. But that show was filmed in fall 2018. So it's kind of amazing they were able to keep it secret since then.
Well, nobody would be interested in any of these people's lives before seeing the show.
That's true.
Like, nobody would just care what Jessica is doing.
Yeah.
Just gonna put 1,000 hashtags on them pictures before somebody gives it a like, you know? She's just a regular person.
We'll have to watch that.
Yeah, I'll just check it out, you know? I'll check it out. I love you.
Love you too.
So, I guess you're gonna go ahead and bow out at this point.
Yeah, I'm getting dismissed.
Yeah, my wife's going to get out of here. I'm going to finish the rest of this episode with some man talk. We're going to talk some UFC here. Just had UFC Norfolk, and then we're going to talk about UFC 248. But, all right. My wife's going to get up out of here if you want to say goodbye to the people.
Bye.
And, all right.
Okay.
All right, love you, baby.
Love you too.
Bye. Yeah. So... let's talk about UFC Norfolk this past weekend. UFC Norfolk last night. A few fights I want to talk about. There was it's a pretty interesting card. You know, usually the issue with fights, it seems, week to week, is the judges. Terrible judges. But tonight it was another issue. I think it was a lot of the reffing that I had an issue with. I think reffing was a big issue this weekend in Norfolk. So Megan Anderson took on Norma Dumont, all right? Norma Dumont was undefeated coming into this. Megan Anderson lost to Felicia Spencer, and then she was coming off a submission victory, Megan Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, coming into here. And she was losing in the stand-up, I would say. Norma was really handling her in the stand-up in the first round. Megan Anderson catches Norma Dumont with a right and drops her. Now, it's not like she's knocked out or anything. Norma gets dropped, and she, gets positioned to... because Megan is rushing at this point and is about to, attack her, about to jump on her. So she jumps up on her back. She gets her wits about herself and jumps up, and... it prepares for the fight to continue on the ground, but the ref jumps in and immediately stops the fight. If those were two men in there fighting, they would never stop the fight that soon. You know what I'm saying? Just because he got knocked down, you wouldn't stop the fight. You know that, the guy's not knocked out, and she's not knocked out, is what I'm saying. She got knocked down, and the ref simply jumped in and stopped the fight. And I wrote this whole thing that I'm spieling off to you guys right now. And I still stand by it. I feel like if that were two men in that situation, I honestly believe they wouldn't. I feel like a good ref, I'll say that. I'll say this. I believe that a good ref would not make that mistake, or would not stop that fight just off of a knockdown in the very first round when Norma Dumont was handling Megan and she got caught, got dropped, and the ref just stopped in and stopped the fight. I think that was an early stoppage. That was pretty weird to start off with. I mean, that's not the first fight, but that's the first fight I'm going to tell you guys about. Megan Anderson defeats Norma Dumont by what I would say a very early stoppage. Like UFC's kind of like posting about like, oh, this devastating knockout, blah, blah, blah. And I think, well, you have to say that because you can't just say, oh, this is controversial. You want to try to build these stars. You can't say this is clearly a controversial victory here because you want to build Megan Anderson as possibly taking on Amanda Nunes in the neck for the 145 pound. Yeah, I think it's 145 pound belt. She would take on Amanda Nunes is looking to defend her 145 pound belt that she defeated Cyborg for. So they just kind of brushed over that early stoppage and was just like, oh yeah, Megan, amazing fucking knockout. And I'm like, nah, it was a terrible knockout. It was an early stoppage. That was an early stoppage. That wasn't a good knockout. If she took on Amanda Nunes, she'd get knocked out legitimately pretty early on in the first round. Pretty early on. That was an early stoppage. Norma looks pretty great in there. So, yeah, I think that was an early stoppage, and Norma shouldn't be too affected by this, but it's just a shady. It was a real weird stoppage that I credited to the sex of the fighters. But then for the very next fight, which is interesting, in the very first round, Jan Kutalaba loses to Magomed Ankalaev in the very next round. The referee jumps in and stops the fight. So Magomed Ankalaev had Jan Kutalaba, so he was kind of dazed. He had him dazed with the stand-up. It looked like he was kind of wobbly. But some people are saying that what Kutalaba was doing was the rope-a-dope. He was just trying to lure Ankalaev into some false sense that he was kind of wobbled so that he would throw recklessly and he could catch him. I mean, Jan Kutalaba was throwing back, and there's two kicks that Magomed threw in this sequence that they're saying he was wobbled, that they're saying that Kutalaba was wobbled. Kutalaba blocks both kicks and swings back, like throws 3 strikes back to his 2 strikes. He gets like Ankalaev lands 2 punches, lands 2 strikes to Kutalaba's head, and the ref just rushes in and stops the fight. And Kutalaba immediately is no issue with him walking or anything, screams at the ref like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? The ref stops the fight in the very first round while they're both standing up and striking each other. And the guy clearly had his wits about himself. So I still stand by, I think there was a sexist thing that took place with the previous fight. But this was just shady. Like, I guess the ref assumed that dude was hurt pretty bad. He was so fooled by the rope-a-dope. But that's even, I saw some fighters tweeting like, are you guys seriously trying to believe? You guys seriously believe that the ref was so fooled by the rope-a-dope that he jumped in and stopped the fight? Like, they're trying to say like if it was a rope-a-dope and he wasn't actually hurting there, that the ref would be able to tell. And they're saying that clearly Kutalaba was hurt pretty bad in there, and I would say he wasn't, because the fighters who were tweeting that I'm referring to, they have They have hindsight also. So, and I'm looking at the replay, and Kutulaba's blocking those strikes and striking back. So, I would say there was a little rope-a-dope going on in there. Like, when I look at it, he's dodging and he blocks the kicks, he's dodging the punches, and then he gets caught with two right before the ref jumps in and stops the fight. So, like, when I'm watching him block the shots and returning fire, and then block another shot, return fire, like, dodge a shot, like, return fire, get hit twice, and the ref jump in, I'm like, yo, that's fucking crazy. That was crazy. So, that should be overturned or turned into a no contest. But Cutelaba, I'd say that was a pretty weird stoppage there. 2 fights in a row. Refs did some pretty interesting stoppages there. One was I say they were both, super early stoppages. Way too early. 2 fights in a row for UFC Norfolk. So Felicia Spencer dominates some woman. I'm not even going to say her name because, like, and I don't mean to be that disrespectful. I just didn't, honestly. It's like Farah something. I don't know. I didn't look it up. But she got dominated in a way that, like, I mean, in the stand-up, they were showing that she's pretty good with the stand-up. And I think they were showing her backing up, like, Megan Anderson in their previous fight. But when the fight went to the ground, which Felicia Spencer is advertised to, that's her game plan, is to get you to the ground and grapple, to use her jiu-jitsu. When they got to the ground, it was like this Farah woman had no idea what to do on the ground. You hadn't prepared for this jiu-jitsu specialist? You hadn't prepared for grappling? It made no sense to me. And from that whole aspect, like when she was just like wrapping up her legs, she's just like, just when she's mounting her, and I'm just seeing her just like lay flat on her back. This Farah woman's just laying flat on her back. And then at some point, Felicia Spencer is just like teeing off on her, and she's just laying there on her back taking it. She's taking these strikes, and I don't understand it. So I didn't really look up her name. It's like Farah something. But when you're going in there, you're a professional fighter, you're on the main card, you're the co-main event for this show, it's a title fight in the main event, and you're up against a jiu-jitsu specialist, and you looked like you had no idea what to do in grappling situations. Felicia had mentioned that she's seen on tape that this Farah woman had some pretty good bridges and some pretty good jiu-jitsu, but I didn't see it there. It looked to me like she had no idea what to do when it went to the ground, and that was pretty disappointing. So I didn't care to look up what her name was. I didn't look it up. So the main event, Joseph Benavidez versus Daveson Figueiredo. I tried to score it round by round. I thought maybe it'd go the full 5 rounds, but it did not. It went 2 rounds. First round I gave to so forget these scores. Because there's only one score, and then it was over in the second round. So it was kind of back and forth in the first round, but like pretty much Figueiredo dominated Benavidez. So when I watched some analysis on the fight, like when I watched it live, I was like, oh yeah, Benavidez. I gave the first round to Benavidez when I watched it live, and when I watched the analysis afterwards, it's showing that, like, yes, they're trading back and forth in the first round, but while Figueiredo, when he lands on Benavidez, you can see the power. Like, he's clearly hurt by pretty much every time. Every time he gets touched by Figueiredo, it's impacting him. And then in this analysis, it's pointing out that what the fuck is that? Jesus. In this analysis, it's also pointing out the fact that that when Joseph Benavidez is landing his punches, when he's landing his strikes on Figueiredo is essentially not even affected by it. I'm watching this, when I'm watching the analysis, I'm like, is Figueiredo on some kind of EPO or something right now? Like, he's not even affected. Like, it's like he's not being touched. And he's just simply walking through all of Joseph Benavidez's offense. He's walking through everything that Joseph Benavidez has for him at this point. When I'm watching the analysis, when I'm watching it live, I thought it was kind of back and forth. But when I'm watching the replay, I'm like, wow, man. Davidson's kind of like stalking this man. He's walking him down. He's just sniping him. They're showing how Deiveson Figueiredo, he's walking forward with his hands down. And then as like he's just touching Benavidez at this point is just they're pointing it out like he's being hurt by these fucking shots so much. Like he's being hurt so much by this that Benavidez is pretty much avoiding the game plan. He stops moving. He stops circling. He just becomes a stationary target right there because he's just, at this point, he's not even throwing combinations. He's just winging shots, naked kicks or just blind kicks, blind punches, just throwing things. No setups at all because he was, while circling, he kept getting touched up, getting peppered up. But the peppered up is like, it's really fucking him up. He's getting hurt with every time he's getting touched. Just to go back before the fight, Deiveson Figueiredo missed weight by 2.5 pounds, so he was not eligible to win the title that was on the line. Only Benavidez could win the title here tonight, unfortunately. So it goes to the ground. Figueiredo almost finished it up. So when I watched it, I was like, "Oh, this is great counter jiu-jitsu by Benavidez." When I watched it live, when I watched the analysis, I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like Figueiredo is like a master at jiu-jitsu down there, and I just didn't understand what the hell I was watching. I knew he was like locking up a triangle, and I knew that they had mentioned. I could hear commentary mention an armbar. But I didn't even see it. I didn't even see what they were talking about. But he did, and I didn't even see it. He isolated an arm while he was wrapped up on... He had his legs wrapped around for the triangle on Benavidez, and he was hanging off on one side to put all his body weight on the right side of Benavidez, while he also isolated the right arm of Benavidez to go for an armbar. Like, he's attempting 2 submissions while also isolating the, like, one side of his body, so he can't even, like, do anything with the right. He can't stand up. Like, it's pretty much hard for him to, like, get out of that position, but somehow he was able to avoid the armbar and get out of there by the grace of fucking Jesus. I don't know. He was somehow able to get out of there. But while I'm watching the analysis, I'm watching how there's, like, certain points where Benavidez is going for certain transitions in the grapples, but like Figueiredo is like holding his like leg in a certain way to like guide his body into only being able to go to like the perfect positions for him to attempt more submissions, to be in a more dominant position in jiu-jitsu. It was masterful what I was seeing from Deiveson Figueiredo. That was my pick. I was so upset when I realized I didn't talk about it last week. I was like, I wanted to be able to say I called it, and then he went out there and did it. Sure enough, Figueiredo's scary. He's a scary dude. So in the second round, the commentators kept talking about how Benavidez was like lunging. So at this point he'd given up all real game plan, and he was just kind of like lunging at Figueiredo. But when he would lunge at Figueiredo, he would kind of dip his head forward. He wasn't even like looking at Figueiredo as he was throwing these shots. He would dip his head forward, and at some point he dips forward, and his head butted with Deiveson Figueiredo, and it like busted Benavidez wide open. And he's like distracted by the blood just pouring down his face. He's trying to wipe the blood, and Figueiredo just catches him with a straight right, drops him, and then just like gets him with a little bit of a ground and pound. Ref comes in to stop the fight. And now you have, ladies and gentlemen, no champion but you have a winner in Davison Figueiredo, who's a fucking monster. You know, there's a lot of talk that they were possibly going to get rid of the division before this. And then the guy who wins the fight for the belt can't win the belt because he didn't make weight at the weight class that they're debating on getting rid of in the first place. So they might just get rid of the whole division based off of this right here. Hopefully not. Davison Figueiredo is a beast, and I think that would be pretty dope. There's some pretty good fights that can still happen, but they got to start signing a few more 125-pound fighters. They've actually released a lot of them to kind of point to the fact that they're going to get rid of the whole division. But hopefully they don't. You got to kind of make weight to give them a reason. There's no champion right now. The belt is vacant, so you don't want issues like that. Let's move on. Let's talk about UFC 248. So we got Israel Adesanya taking on Yoel Romero next weekend. And as you guys said, Israel Adesanya is like my favorite fighter. Yoel Romero is a monster. You know, you could never take anything from Yoel, your boy Yoel. I mentioned him on my album. I gave him a shout out. Said I'll be solo like Romero. Tell you that I'll see you soon. I wanted to throw a boy in there, but it was too many words. There used to be a boy in there. It was too many words. Yoel Romero's got the same birthday as my brother, but 10 years earlier. Brother's going to be 33 this year. So, in Las Vegas this Saturday, you got my boy, Israel Adesanya, 18-0, taking on Yoel Romero, 13-4. So my issue with Yoel, because I'm not cool with this fight at all. Yoel's lost 3 of his last 4. I didn't even realize that Luke Rockhold fight was in the middle of this whole thing. So he fought Robert Whittaker in 2017, and he lost that by decision. Then he fought Luke Rockhold, and he knocked out Luke Rockhold and kissed him. It was like, I love you. I love you. And then he, that's legit. I'm not even joking. That's legit what happened. He knocked him out, and then when they stood Luke Rockhold up, he went and kissed him. It was like, I love you. And so then he knocks out Luke Rockhold in 2018 in February. And then June of 2018, he loses to Robert Whittaker. Now, he lost via split decision to Robert Whittaker, but also in that fight, he missed weight. He also missed weight in that fight. So he was not even eligible to win the belt in that fight. And I'm pretty sure he missed weight in the fight against Luke Rockhold. But he wasn't able to win. Even if he had beat Robert Whittaker in the second fight, he would not be the champion. It'd be the same situation that there is, right, as I said, with Figueiredo. There'd be no champion. So it's good for the UFC that he lost that fight because he wouldn't be the champion. And then I saw him fight Paulo Costa in August. That was a pretty thrilling fight, but, I mean, he lost. All right? He lost his last 2 fights, and now because Paulo Costa is injured, or he was injured, they booked this fight. And so my issue here is that Yoel Romero, at some point, like it's not like it's guaranteed that Adesanya goes in there and just wins. I would love that guarantee. I would bet the house on it if that was the case. But I would love that guarantee. What I would hate to happen, like I would hate for this goes for Jose Aldo. What I would hate for this for the outcome to be would be that Yoel Romero wins and becomes the UFC champion after going on a 2-fight losing streak. I would hate for that to happen. He's not deserving. Just based off of the name, it doesn't make any sense. Give him a fight against Israel. Give him a non-title fight against Israel, and if he wins that, then clearly he's the number 1 contender. Clearly. But you don't give him a title shot. He doesn't get a title shot when he's lost his last 2 fights, and the guy he beat in the last 4 Shit, the guys he beat in the last 5, shit. He's beat Luke Rockhold, who's pretty much retired at this point. And then he beat Chris Weidman, who everybody is saying should be retired. Those are his last 2 wins in his last 5. I mean, we could go back before that. He beat Jacare Souza, who's solid but boring. Solid but boring. I just don't want Yoel to win this fight because it's just silly. Because you're talking about like, oh, it's a better selling point. I think Israel's is a big enough star where you could have Israel fight Cannonier. Israel could fight Cannonier, and it wouldn't really make much of a difference than if he was fighting Yoel Romero. And if Yoel would want to fight Israel, fine. Just go out here, win some fights, and then you get that fight. And then maybe you could be champion and it'd be cool. But like for right now, for you to be coming off a 2-fight losing streak, and you could possibly be the champion in your next fight just because you're popular, that's not cool. That's like if you brought in CM Punk and his first fight was for the title, and I don't know, he throws a spinning back elbow that somebody just didn't expect, gets caught. They get caught, and all of a sudden, fucking CM Punk was welterweight champion. And it's like, shit, he got caught. Anything could fucking happen, is what I'm saying here. And it's not cool that you could just be champion, not based off the fact that your performance deserves it. Calls shows that you deserve it. Your performance actually shows that you need to go out and put on some more performances. So your name shouldn't be enough to get you that belt at any point in your career, is what I'm saying here. No disrespect to CM Punk. So I'm hoping Israel finishes this fight. Hoping he finishes it in the first round. That's what I'd like to see. But I'll go with, that's my prediction, actually. I'm going to go with Israel for a first round finish. They said Israel's working with Frank Hickman, who is like a world-renowned, he and his brother is world-renowned for like specifically on the application of wrestling as it pertains to MMA. So that's like what his game plan, that's who's helping him with his game as far as like the counter wrestling of Yoel Romero, who's an Olympic, 3rd place for Cuba, Olympic, wrestler, Yoel Romero. But the thing with Yoel Romero is he's great with he can take you down, but like he has basically no control. He has no control on the ground, and we've seen some pretty good flashes of jiu-jitsu with Israel when he's gone to the ground, but a lot of people don't even get that chance, you know? A lot of people don't get that chance. So who's to say Yoel will be any different? And I hope Yoel gets knocked the fuck out. That's what I'm hoping for. So also next week, last thing we're going to talk about here, Zhang Weili's taking on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So I'm hoping that Zhang Weili beats the fuck out of Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I used to be a pretty big Joanna fan, but especially after the second loss to Rose, I was like, yo, this lady's delusional. I thought Joanna was completely delusional, and I couldn't really support a lot of the things she would say in the media. But when she recently did the whole gas mask thing about the poster, when she shared the picture on her story or whatever of her wearing a gas mask in the poster against Zhang Weili, a racist joke about the coronavirus. And so at that point I was kind of all out on Joanna. And I'd love for Zhang Weili to just knock her the fuck out in this. Zhang Weili, when I'm watching like these videos about these people, what was that shit called? Like full the UFC 248 countdown. And I'm watching the videos on them on these fighters, and I feel like Zhang reminds me most closely of Valentina Shevchenko, and how easy they are to pick up a new craft and master it, and how how much they are disciplined at mastering those crafts, and how they see the importance in these different crafts to being an overall great martial artist. So I would love for her to win this fight and eventually have a fight with Shevchenko later rather than sooner. That doesn't need to happen anytime soon, but I would like to see it at some point. I think that's pretty cool. I think once like Zhang learns more English, I mean that's not necessarily the thing, but I would like her to just rack up some wins at her weight class, at the 115 weight class, before taking on, like, just build up in like her name. Have people like, yo, she needs to fight, and I feel like that would be an insane 5-round fight between the two of them. If we get there. Joanna Jędrzejczyk's boxing coach, he recently cornered Tisha Torres, who took on Weili Zhang. He cornered Tisha Torres for that fight, and she was able to find some success with the stand-up against Zhang Weili. And I would say Tisha is not anywhere near the stand-up artist as Joanna Jędrzejczyk is. So that right there gives me a little cause for concern that the striking coach was able to do so much, was able to put up so much offense and give such great advice in between rounds that allowed Tisha to get off more offense against Zhang. And then you got that person who is talking about he sees all these holes in Zhang with this amazing Thai striker in Joanna. So that gives me cause for concern, but I'm hoping that we'll get Zhang Weili. I'd say it's between a 5th round decision. I mean, I give it a decision for Zhang Weili, or I would say, or 1st round stoppage, Zhang Weili. Those are the only two outcomes I see, actually. You saw that Joanna looked tougher. She showed some toughness, I would say, maybe against Michelle Watterson, but I would say she's got a lot of quit in her. So I think Zhang could get in there and show that she's probably just a little too strong. A little too well-rounded everywhere for Joanna. I think that's going to be the difference there, is just the strength. And just the overall game. She's great everywhere. So I got Zhang Weili. It's not just the disrespect, but though that didn't help me want to cheer for Joanna, but because it is what it is, I'm all the more in favor of Zhang Weili. So that's my prediction, that Zhang Weili retains the belt and that Israel Adesanya retains the belt next weekend. Hopefully, Gerald Meerschaert wins next week. Shout out everybody who is from Milwaukee or trains here. I root for you all. And I'm going to go ahead and give you guys social medias if you guys want to follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Babylon5Pod. If you want to follow my personal accounts on Instagram and Twitter, it's at my name's Jermaine. If you want to email the podcast, the email is babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can follow the podcast at babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to the podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora. Shit, nigga, pretty much anywhere podcasts play. And if you want to go ahead and add me, play some games with me on Xbox, my gamer tag is SauceBoss414. If you want to check out the merchandise, it's teesprings.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And if you want to watch me play some games on Twitch, that link is twitch.tv/Babylon5. It's your boy Jermaine Event. This is episode 28. It's a little bit of a longer one, but thanks you guys so much for rocking with me. Thanks for rocking with me and my wife. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being here. It's been a fun week. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Thanks. I'll see you guys soon. Yeah.